Good morning. Hello, everyone. How are you? Hi, my queens. Good morning. Welcome to part two of The Truth Is What It Is. The effect that racism in the inner city Black communities have this awful and horrible effect on upper class Black Americans as well as middle class Black Americans. Now, as you can recall, yesterday I talked about um, when you are a recovering addict in these areas, how you are downgraded as a woman, very, very much so, and how Black American men in these areas talk so bad about Black women and how they are literally eliminating their own people, Black men, killing Black men, Black women, Black are killing other Black women. Um, and it always is something senseless what they die for here in the inner city. It's always over some kind of relationship, some kind of something that stemmed from third grade all the way up into their adulthood, or if this person don't like that person, then we're all gonna hate and discriminate against that person. And they don't realize that they're being racist towards their own people, prejudiced towards their own people. Our status is not the same as far as our minds go, brain power go. Um, and it is very important to pay attention because a lot of this negativity is veering out into other communities. And I wanted to point out the way Ahmaud Arbery was laid out for just jogging down the street in a community where whites were predominantly at, and the fact that how white Americans can jog down the street in these inner city neighborhoods without being harmed. And a Black woman or Black man cannot do that in our own communities around our own people. You understand? And as I go on, I would like for you to please subscribe, please share and like and give comments to this podcast. It is very important that you pay attention. Now, I just talked about Aubrey, our brother. It goes on to Floyd. It goes on to Sandra Bland as well. Um, Kendrick Johnson. It is these are our slain brothers and sisters who died at the hands of racist white people. Racism is what killed them. And I just wanted to just point it out that things need to change among Black people in the inner city because statistics have already written out the lifespan of young Black men in the inner city and how they're going to grow and go. And a lot of young Black men in the inner city, they actually live that story, and Black women as well. But I'm here to tell you today, I thank God, I give him all the praise that I made it through that storm of addiction and I got away from it. And living in the inner city with the past of using a demon substance is is kind of hard because of the judgment that I get from my people. At first, it started off just simple, a little bit here, a little bit there. But as I improved my life, and as I got better at life in just polishing up and doing the right thing, it got worse. But I know this is the plan of the enemy to stop my purpose in life, delay it, or try to take my life because of what I stand for. And what I stand for is something meaningful and powerful. It's something that is a very deep concern, and it should be a concern to all Blacks all over the world because this is where it stems from in the inner city. And racism among our people is awful. Black on black crime is awful. It is. And like I stated before, if two blacks in the inner city were to get into it and one kill the other, there would not be a picket. There would not be a riot. It would not be an uproar of Black Americans walking and protesting against black on black crime. It won't do. It won't do. It will be retaliation back and forth, retaliation back and forth, more bloodshed, more problems. And that goes out. And that's why it affects our little sisters and brothers out here in the world. How it affected Aaliyah Perry. You understand? Because the first thing I heard her say is the reason why she was approached by these two white kids is because they said she was loud. The footage was deleted, as was with Kendrick Johnson. You only see him going into the gym, and that's it. And I don't understand why in the inner cities around America that we are steady ignoring the big picture. Some people do not want to be looked at as the problem, and they don't realize that they are the problem here in Black America in these inner cities. The communities, they are the problem. And that goes up into the upper class Blacks, middle class Blacks. Then you have a lot of hood rich Black Americans in the inner city that think they're better than the others here. If you've written, and they may own their home, but they are still in the hood, is what I try to get across. They are still here under the same area code and under the same zip code. You're still here. You are not popping champagne bottles. You are pouring salt on your people, throwing shade on your people. And the music, it doesn't help us. It doesn't. And that's a part of the big picture as well. What they listen to, what they watch, and how they absorb it. A lot of the fatherless Black males in the inner cities are pretentious absorbers because they absorb what's around them as far as who's acting out, the music, the TV. They find their fathers in the streets. They don't get good advice from the older Black men in these areas. These older Black men, the majority of them have missed the bus on life. And instead of them telling the younger Black males that they need to, straighten up and fly right, get a grip on life because you're not going to always be a young man. You're going to age and you're going to get older. They do not. Some of them romance the stone of prison time, jail time, like it's something to brag about and it's exciting, and it's not. I am here to teach my little sisters and the next generation coming behind me that jail is not fun. Prison is not fun. Drug addiction is not fun. So if I stand alone, I stand alone with purpose. I would rather do that, stand alone with purpose, than to have a whole lot of people around me with no qualities, no kind of good quality. We lose our blacks all over the world because of the racism in inner city, Black America, in these communities where there's a high profile of crime and the police does not do a good job. As I told you before, when I called the police once, this officer, a white officer, asked me, don't I have family to call? And I'm like, this is your job. This is not my brother's job, my uncle, my father, my male cousins. No, this is your job. That showed me right then and there. I was really looking like, wow, this guy really doesn't care. And the black officer that walked off my porch, he didn't care either. Right in mid sentence. In these areas, when we call the police for protection, we're calling the police on the police because they already know these folks are related to these people. And when that happens, some of us feel fear. I do not fear mankind. I fear my creator. That's who I fear. And this is why we're losing our brothers and sisters around the world to racism. That's what we're doing. And it's not stopping, it's getting worse. Now, I know you've heard of the term a hit dog will holler. After I made this podcast yesterday, part one, after I did part one of this podcast, I was harassed, stalked. It's nothing new to me, but being that it's the summertime, school is out, the majority of the stalkers are little kids. I call them kids. Even though they're in high school, they're still kids. And they're being controlled by another person's emotions. That's racism, prejudice against our own people in the inner cities. I'm not the only person like this. There are lots of Black Americans that live in the inner city who are judged by our past lives, even when we're living in the present day, and the Baptist church is no better. No better. I went to a Baptist church for help. I went there and I cried to the pastors and I entrusted the female pastor. But she let the enemy come off the streets, whisper in her ear, and she used that not as something to talk to me about. She used it as a weapon, not as help. When I approached her, she brushed me off cold. And I promised my heart to God on my mother's grave. That is what happened in that church, St. Peter's AME Baptist Church, out there on Staley Avenue in Savannah, Georgia. The way she treated me was very cold, and I almost came home and used. But because of that hypocrisy that she showed me, I'm now 3 years clean from marijuana. I took it in, and I know that everything that we're supposed to learn from our pain is supposed to empower us. And that's exactly what that did. It empowered me not to be a hypocrite. It empowered me to stand firm and strong in my beliefs and how to really lift up a Black woman in need of support, in need of love, a listening ear for her to vent to. We done been through so much. And this racism in the Black communities, it doesn't, it doesn't do us any good. The Black communities, inner cities, communities talk about the Black women to other men of other races. And when they see a Black woman, any Black woman, anywhere, that's how they are judged. Shawnee Davis was raped by a man, Francisco Valadez. She was 30 years old. He was an Uber driver. He attempted to rape her and she fought for her life. And he beat her up, dragged her out. He shot her in her head and raped her anyway. And she was the mother of two beautiful children. That is not fair to the Black queens. The backlash that is done in the inner city communities veers out into the upper and middle class. Black Americans. And I'm not the only one that can see this. This is happening. Jasmine Horn is a second grade school teacher sitting in front of her grandmother's door in her car, and she got arrested by several cops. Racism was there. They did not approach her right. She had a panic attack. And she thought, oh my God, my grandmother is going to outlive me. Well, they falsely arrest her, mistaken identity. They're still profiling us, guys. They arrested her and she went to jail. They found out she was not the person that they were looking for and let her go with the I'm sorry. This woman is a school teacher, a Black school teacher. Do you understand? She left America. She left the place completely. That is discrimination. That is a middle class woman, Black American. Okay? This is not going to end until someone steps up and say something about it. All of our Black leaders, if you would pay attention, were slain because they spoke out and they stood for something. Every one of them. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Fred Hampton, Stephen Biko. They didn't get to Robert F. Williams and Mabel Williams. No, they fled the country, made a difference. And that's what we have to do. Make a difference. Start good trouble. This isn't bad trouble. My good friend John Lewis says good trouble changes things. This is good trouble. If I lose my life because I have exposed racism in the Black community, those who try to take my life for this police officer, female, who is not doing her job in honoring her badge, that pastor at that church, or these pencil pushers who's supposed to be doing their jobs and working for the government. These people still are racist towards their own people. And it's time that we stand up and call this out. 5 black cops killed a black man over a relationship that had ended. He lost his life because someone chose him to love. Apparently, that cop wasn't treating her right. Apparently, it is not fair for cops to abuse their authority. It is not fair for our people to be prejudiced against us because of our backgrounds, because of how we're trying to be different. I throw up both my hands because the way they do life is crazy. The way they do my life is crazy. But I got Jesus on my side, and I know there's a calling on my life. And the enemy cannot stop me. And I believe that. I believe that. Yes, I do. So the harder they come and the lower they go, the harder I'm going to go to die and the higher I'm going to soar for the top. Because these are our people doing this to us. Just to name a few of our fallen soldiers. Mistaken identity got an 8-year-old little girl killed in Atlanta, Georgia. Violence in the inner city spreads outward to blacks and other areas of life. That is not fair to us. It is not fair to our brothers and sisters who have worked hard to get out of the hood, for them to get out of the hood and still be looked upon as less than what they are. Why can't we all be a dream come true instead of some being a dream come true and others being a nightmare? Dr. King had a dream. He'd been to the mountaintop. Moses went to the mountaintop and counseled with God. Harriet Tubman was struck in the head and started to have visions. That is a testimony. She could see that we were free in the future. She could see that. That is supernatural. I've been to the mountaintop and I could see what the problem is. When I looked down and I could see what the problem is. God done showed me what the problem is. He don't try and tell us nothing. He tell it to us. There are so many opportunities out here. Everyone in the inner city has the opportunity to go to school, to be somebody. Every one of them do. Every one of us have equal opportunity. It is your life choices that takes you where your life will be. Life is most definitely what you make it. And all these opportunities that our Black leaders died for in those days of real racism, horrible, all those opportunities are slipping through our fingers. They have removed Job Corps. How many people you know? How many Black children do you know who was homeless and went to Job Corps and now they have businesses in their adult life? My little brother is one of those people. He went to Job Corps. My brother owns a business. He does. And it's a beautiful business. He works side by side with his father. And now it's gone. They tried to take public school. No one is paying attention to what's going on. I don't see anyone standing up to get us a Black history class. That is something well needed. We need this because if we forget our history, it is a possibility that it will repeat itself. And from what I see, it is slowly but surely repeating itself with police brutality, false arrests, shooting Black people down, our brothers down in the street, kicking in doors, wrong houses, but you still, the police persist and they go in. You have to know where the police was derived from. Okay? Originally, they were called slave catchers. Yes. Know your history. Know that when Black officers were hired in those days, they could only arrest Black people. They could not arrest white people. They could not. Things changed. They used to call the Black officers chore boys. Instead of them having the respect of being an officer of the law, they were still disrespected and called chore boys. That is often to go someplace to do a job and you're disrespected. It's awful to live around your own people and be judged and discriminated against because of your past. We need to straighten up. We need to learn our history. We need to fight for things that matter instead of fighting each other and hurting each other. I stay away from trouble. Trouble's so easy to get into. My life has changed because I want it better. The people that found this place did not do their job, and it was only because they know someone, a female, who do not like Denise Jenkins. And that's all they needed was a name. And then they put the face with the name. And then guess what? There goes the discrimination. There goes the prejudice. There goes the judgment without even knowing me. Judging me without reason or evidence, even though I stood before them a recovering addict. Because this person don't like me. That's where the problem came in at. Why I was left here in this neighborhood around her family members and friends to try and torment me every day, every day. But I'm not going to be anyone's victim. I am a Black woman in recovery who is victorious. And I stand for something meaningful and powerful. And I will keep that up because that is my purpose in life and that is my mission to uplift my sisters and bring them out of that storm, to encourage my sisters in recovery, to stay in recovery, elevate your minds, and build. If we want something to change, I was always told to start with you. And that's what I did. I started with myself. When I see little Black girls, I can see myself as a little Black girl. When I see them walking down the street in these neighborhoods, I pray for them. I talk to them. I let them know they are my future and I have been a sacrifice for you. I show them my teeth. I show them my war wounds. I tell them it will get that way if you are coaxed into a demon substance. My future is in danger. My future are my little black sisters coming behind me, and I need them. And so do all of us throughout the world. This goes up a notch higher. There was a black soldier coming home from his son's funeral. He was pulled over. They took his son's ashes and dumped them out, saying that they were drugs. That is not right. It is not. Mrs. Stallworth was wrongfully arrested because she would not show her ID to a white officer. She called the police because her neighbor, who happens to be a white man, was playing his music way too loud. These are middle class people. And when she said something about, oh, that's racist what you're doing, this officer literally turned around to arrest her, asked for her ID that she did not have to give up because she was the one who called the police. This cop pushed her down and put handcuffs on her in front of her child. And I am so glad that her child was calm, cool, and collected. He asked questions. He videotaped what they were doing to his mother. And he asked him, can you please show me where it is written that you can arrest a person for not showing you their ID? He pulls out the phone and does still not show evidence of that. Arrested his mother in front of him. I commend you, young man, because you are awesome. You stood up for what was right and you asked the proper questions. That was awesome. Two officers came upon a black man getting in his vehicle. He locked his keys inside. Instead of them asking this black man, hey, can we help? Or what the issue is. They just ran up and and started jumping on him, spraying him because he was fighting and telling them, look, this is my car. Other people were there. Black Lives Matter, they were there. And they filmed everything. Is how we know these things because they are filmed. They still arrested him. And he was trying to get into his own car. Another black man, now this one is great here. He's way upper class. And him and his wife are coming out of their home. The officers don't see that part. What they see is him coming out and getting to his car. They pull over to profile this man because he got cornrows in his hair. But let me tell you why he got the cornrows after this. After they went off on, they put him in handcuffs, his wife's filming everything, is that's when he told them who he was. He was a detective. You should have seen their faces. He was a detective. Those cornrows was his undercover look because of his assignment to go into areas to do his job. They immediately let him go. Do you see how we are done? It starts from somewhere. There's a ripple effect. And I know if you went to school, you know about the ripple effect of dropping a pebble right in the middle of some water. And you see how it affects everything. The water where the rock is dropped is in the inner city. And that hatred and racism among blacks, killing blacks, discriminating blacks, talking about blacks, it goes out throughout the world, and upper class blacks And middle class blacks are affected by this as well. Did you see what Sophia Rosie did? Racial slurs, wanting to fight a black woman, a young black woman. She kept her composure. Thank you, my sister. She kept her composure. And when they rallied for something good. And what she said was, she will not let this stop her on her journey. I will not let this stop me on my journey. We have the same issue, me and my sister, but we have different oppressors. You see, her oppressor was a racist white person. My oppressor is a racist black person. That is not right. It is not fair. And all I did was stand up for myself, for my child. My son is beautiful to me, as is all my children. But this one here, God gave me when I was at a time of need in my life, and I needed deliverance, and I needed, and He gave me my baby. And I live for my baby. And every step I take is praise for every day of grace God gives me. I speak out against racism throughout the world, against anyone. I speak out strongly against racism in Black communities. This is where it's at. This is how it starts. Someone needs to pay attention. More people than me. You know Shadar Sanders. I know you guys have heard of him. He came from a prominent Black family. And he was offered, picked by the Cleveland Browns, of course. But Shadar would not settle for what they were trying to offer. So he was confident while being Black. CWBB. Confident while being Black. It is not nothing wrong with having confidence and knowing your worth and knowing the history of the NBA and NFL. They give these inner city kids a check. And because of them being raised by single parents in these poverty neighborhoods, and when they come across a Black child, a Black man, young man, like Shadar Sanders, they don't know what to do. He didn't come from poverty. He came from a working class family who had things. So he privileged. But do you see how far racism goes? And racial treatment. You see how far it goes? All the way there. Even Roland Martin himself would not take less than what he was worth. But because he was a young Black man fresh out of college, he knew his worth. How come our opponent could be of another race and we still have the same skills, but our approach are very different? Very different. After turn down, and him not selling himself short because he knew his worth and he was confident in his education, in his upbringing, in his wisdom, in his know-how. He did not accept less. And because of that, they saw his worth. And after all of that, Now he owned his own. Do you understand when we stick in there to our dreams, they can come true? They will. If we keep discriminating against our own people, if you keep doing that to us, nothing will change. Nothing will. We have to stand up for something that means something. We have to. He has compassion. When you have compassion, as I do, as Dr. Ritchie does, as Shadar Sandra has, Akia Perry, Aaliyah Perry, when you have compassion for something that you are doing, you do it with compassion. Some people have occupations that they have no compassion for. They're just there doing it for a paycheck. And anyone could do that for a paycheck. When you don't have compassion and take what you have seriously, your position seriously, of course, you'll fall for inner city rumors if you are Black. Of course, you will downrate your people if you have no compassion for what you're doing. If you don't have a real purpose for it, if you're just sitting back there, but then when you come across a Denise Jenkins, a Shadar Sanders, a Roland Martin, when you come across us, you got work to do because we're not settling. No, we are not going to settle for that. This needs to end. It does. And the truth is what it is. We have to show them who we are. All of us who have been discriminated against by racism from our people and other races, we have to show them who we are so they can see who they are when they look in the mirror. They can see their truth because our truth is right here on the forefront. Knowledge is a blessing, people. It is powerful, yes, but overall, knowledge is a blessing. It is good to know and to understand with wisdom, exercise it, execute it, show it, show them who you are, show them who you are. When our sisters and brothers, well, I'm talking about the Cleveland Nine here, had to go to school and be protected and escorted in by the National Guard Army, those kids did not give up on education. They showed resilience and they went there. That's where I get my strength from. When I think about the four little Black girls that got blew up in the church in Alabama, boom, I live for them. The man that owns the store right next to where Anthony Edward Sewell lived was Arabian. And in the interview, he said he wished there were a million Anthony Sewells so he can clean up all these Black crackhead women off the street. He didn't stutter. He said that on an interview. If you watch it, you will see it. If you watch it, you will see what that man said, and he said it boldly. You want to know why? Because his store was in the inner city. And in the inner city, there are Black men there who talk bad about Black women. And you know who you are. There are Black women in the inner city who talk bad about Black women, and you know who you are. And when it goes out into these job sites where we try to get jobs, you know who you are. When we go to church and we try to get close to God and you push us back out in the streets, you know who you are. When you take and abuse that badge, you know who you are. When people are exposed, they get angry and hate you. They hated Billie Holiday for making that song, Strange Fruit. They locked her up for a truth, man. Stop. You're killing us. You've been doing it. Some point, sometime, it has to stop. And that was just to name a few. Freddie Gray, that was just to name a few. Mr. D, right here in Savannah, Georgia, right out of West Savannah. That is just to name a few. Don't settle. Know your worth. Live your worth. Be your worth. It does not take a rocket scientist to see where the root of the problem is. Knowledge is a blessing. Knowledge is a blessing. And the truth is what it is. I love you. My sisters in sobriety, my queens, my tomorrow woman, how are you? Hello to the Miss Do Better crew. We do better on all levels. Yes, we do. And I'm loving you. I'm loving you every step of the way. Thank you, Power. Thank you, Powerful. Thank you, Calm. Thank you, Patience. Thank you for learning pain. Thank you for enlightenment, high strength. Thank you, courage. Thank you so much, experience. Oh boy, sobriety police. In my organization and in the alliances that I have formed with people like me, we have the Miss Do Better crew. We have the sobriety police. We have strength and the courage to be disliked because we have changed and transformed. And we accepted it and we live it without fear and much courage. I hope that you learned something today. I really do. I love my sisters, my queens of all races. But I hear in on the Black woman because she needs uplifting. She needs me, and I need her, and we need each other. If your mind is like my mind, then we are brilliantly kin. We are wisely kin. We have the knowledge and understanding of who we are, what we stand for. So show them who you are. So when they look in the mirror, they can see who they are. Have a wonderful Monday. Make it great. Give God grace for this day is another day, an empty page, a blank canvas for you to write a beautiful testimony, draw a beautiful testimony. This is Denise Jenkins with another edition of PLM, People Like Me. I am my sister's keeper. Therefore, I shall keep my sisters out of harm's way. I shall keep my sisters informed. I shall give my sisters strength, love, encouragement, and my experience I shall share with my sister. Please like, subscribe, send your comments, and share Our Father's podcast. I love you. Take care. Peace be with you.